Welcome to the Wealth Builders Podcast. I'm Billy Epperhart, and on this show, you're going to hear from industry leaders in business, real estate, and investing. Our Wealth Builder coaches and myself are excited to teach you how to make sense of making money for making a difference. Okay, let's get started.
Hello, and thank you for joining us this week for the Wealth Builders Podcast. We are so excited that you joined us, and I've got one of our very special guests today, our own Wealth Builders coach, Frank Pulley. Do you want to say hi to everyone, Frank?
Hey, everybody. Thank you for joining us today.
Well, we're just so grateful for you, our Wealth Builders family. And what we're kind of gearing up for right now is our business and nonprofit workshop that is coming up August 18th through the 20th in Denver. And I think, Frank, we kind of did this format last year for the first time, and all of us were like, this was such an amazing workshop.
It sure was. And it's going to be even better this year. I know it for sure.
It is. We're really expanding some of the nonprofit information. For example, we've got the Lapp brothers that are traveling out and they'll be sharing. We've got a message we're going to be viewing from Annabelle Walnow, Lance Walnow's wife, who started Furnishing Families of Texas, just birthed out of a vision. And we've got a lot of Colin Carr's coming back. We've got other business people coming in that it's just going to be a whole nother level. So let me just encourage you that if you've not registered for this yet, now is the time. Go to wealthbuilders.org/events and get registered. The in-person is very limited seating, so get in while you can. You can use the code WB200, which actually gives you $200 off. Or you can join us by live stream, use that same code, and you can join the live stream for just $97. We're really excited about it. So today, what we're going to be talking about is really building wealth through your business. And it sounds like, well, of course I'm building wealth through my business, but we are not always building wealth through our business. Sometimes we are just working on our business, thinking we're building wealth. And we really want to equip all of you to think through, how can I do my business, work in my business, but also work on my business so we're in a position to leave a legacy. And Frank, I know you've got a lot of experience in this.
Yeah, I was in before I got into real estate, I was in a retail sporting store. We did travel. So we did a lot of volume of business. And, it took how to handle employees, good customer service, a lot of systems to make sure that everything was running smoothly, because we had 5 different departments. We had we had retail sales, repairs, rentals, education. Some people needed educating on some of the things that we sold. And then finally we did travel, which it was kind of interesting. The travel department drove a lot of the other departments for us, because when people traveled, they need to be able to use our goods and services. And so that drove the other 4 departments. Interesting business.
Yeah. And I've got a background, many of you know too. I was in banking for 25 years. And while I didn't own a bank, I certainly was involved in building that bank and bringing mergers in and acquisitions, that at the end of the day, even, getting stock for my work, that's some form of ownership. But I learned a lot in there about scaling up and building value that transcends beyond one person. And Billy shares there's about 7 ways that we actually build wealth or generate revenue, and business is one of those main ones. And also just knowing, how can I get in that position from maybe being an entrepreneur or a mom and pop shop, we like to call it that, to thinking about, wow, what can I build here that I might be able to sell one day? Or I might be able to pass on to my children that want to run the business, and then taking those business earnings and doing something with them so that it doesn't all go to the IRS, which of course loops in real estate. So Frank, what are some things when you think back to not only your business, but businesses that we coach and work with?
Yeah.
What are some of the key things that you're seeing for people to keep in mind to really ensure they're truly building wealth through their business?
Well, I think first of all, you have to have the foundation, Karen. You've got to have enough money to cover your business needs, and you should have some left over for a rainy day, as they say. And you got to be able to manage that spending. And then at that point, you can determine if you have extra money, and heavens, we hope you do. You can decide what you're going to do with that. And if you're going to grow the kingdom, you're going to want to invest that wisely. And there's a number of things that you could invest in. But before I go on with that, Karen, you've worked with a lot of businesses and stuff. What did you see businesses invest their extra money or savings in?
Yeah, I think there's two parts to that. One of them is actually building that wealth. And, how can we go from just surviving, covering our expenses, maybe taking a little bit of a salary, to building something where we do have those reserves at the end of the day, and we have something that we can invest. And then from there, it's looking at what can we take those proceeds that we've got maybe sitting in the bank. And a lot of our clients, they're moving into real estate, and there's a lot of strategies with that. We'll actually be sharing quite a bit of this at the business workshop. But if we kind of start out with a discussion, let's just say a lot of our listeners, I've been in this position, you're so busy getting your business going that sometimes we are just happy to collect any sort of paycheck back to be able to live on. And one of the things we want to shake loose a little bit in this podcast is for you to see a pathway to go beyond just that surviving and really get you into thriving. I think another thing, Frank, that you and I have really seen with a lot of the business coaching clients is that entrepreneur that's in every level of the business, they're starting to get burned out. And in that, they're really not building something that someone else can buy or take over at some point. So some key things that I'm seeing people are maybe lacking or maybe not aware of when they're in that position is the need to define where you are best in your business. Let me just give you an example. So I like to use my home staging company as an example, not because I did a lot right, but I did a lot wrong and then learned to do things right. So with that, to start out, I did everything. And a lot of this because of a lack of capital, but also as a business owner or starting up a business, you really do want to be aware of every step in the business so that you can teach and train and start to build out. But what I quickly learned is that I could only physically stage so many properties in a time frame. And I was getting exhausted, working through the night, which is okay, except I also had a day job that I was working. And I really got to that point where, I'm capped out. I can't do any more with this unless I can create time, which nobody's been able to figure out yet, or I can create systems that I can teach others so that I'm not having to be the one loading the furniture, unloading the furniture, telling people where to put the furniture, how to arrange the pillows. I started to pay attention that I actually had a system that I did in each house, but I pulled it out of the inside of my head and put it out on documentation or in PowerPoints. Which we've even done with our vacation rentals. We can't clean every vacation rental. Mm-hmm. So how do you get out of trying to clean every vacation rental when you can't be two places at once and into having somebody else do it at the level you want it done? And even that, just as simple as taking pictures of every room. Here's our expectations. Here's how you arrange the pillows. That's just all kind of in that design house area. But Frank, that transcends into every business.
Well, it does. And I think, first of all, you have to know what your purpose is. And some of the things that we work on with some of our business coaching students is they want to be everything to everybody. Mm-hmm. And you can't be that way because the problem is, as you mentioned, you only have so much time. If you waste that time, you can never get it back. Now, if you lose a little money, you can go out and earn some money. But that time, it's gone forever. But having a vision and knowing specifically who your customer is and treating those customers like they're gold. That is really a secret. And sometimes your customer base may change a little bit. If you plan on expanding and adding a new source of revenue or a new type of item to your business. But it really all comes down. It's not going to happen unless you have other people trained to do what you do not have time, which you'll never get back, by the way, to do. And I too have been burned out a couple of times, and I'm telling you, it's a long journey back, isn't it, Karen?
Yeah, it
Recover
is
from that.
It is. And so like knowing this information early on in your entrepreneurial career, or even looking at starting one is really helpful. So the concepts that we have talked about so far is, like Frank mentioned, is figure out where you are best positioned in your business. And then second, build systems that allow other people to know how to do it to your standards, that it doesn't take your time, but it might take your oversight. I think the third thing to do is to look at your business in a way that is scalable. And I'll just use Billy as a great example here. You know, him and Miss Becky, we call her Miss Becky, they have got a really big vision for Wealth Builders, and God gave them that vision. And so sometimes if we take a position where it's like, no, we're the only ones that can share the information or, you know, be best at it, Wealth Builders would have stayed at a very small place because Billy and Becky only have so much time, right? But instead, and Billy is just the best at this. He's such a great example, and which is a lot of why we're doing, you and I are doing what we're doing.
That is right.
Is they know to have maximum impact with the heart of what God's given them with Wealth Builders. And that's Wealth Builders is more in a nonprofit. There is some for-profit, but even in of course, a for-profit business, understanding that you have to allow other people to come in and take some of the responsibility, bring in the ideas and carry things out, allows you to stay outside of being the only ones that can do anything, because that in itself caps you and completely limits you.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. You know, I mean, one of the things that you have to look at is your training program. And it's a dynamic process because it's going to change as things change, you know, technology, products, and that sort of thing. But you need to be able to, you should have a job description list. And based on that, you should have a training program. And a training program initially needs to be you, but you can train others to train the people that come behind them. But the thing that people do is they do one extreme or the other. They either they do it all themselves, or they get a training program and then they just figure, well, that's all I need to do forever. And then they wonder why their training program has gone awry. So the other thing too, you mentioned about scalability, and businesses that are really profitable sometimes make a mistake by trying to scale up too quickly. You've got to do it in a, I'm not going to say totally cautious manner because there's always some risks, but you've got to have steps and reach those steps before you go ahead. Otherwise, I've seen places, a couple of my competitors went and opened up second stores without really a lot of forethought. Man, they failed miserably. And those second stores really drained the financial and personnel resources of their original store. One never recovered, one managed to do so.
Wow, you know, I've seen that a lot with restaurants too. Like something works really great. Maybe they're bursting at the seams, so they go into a really big location, but somehow the character of what people were drawn to doesn't pull through. So that's really great, Frank. Like training there in it is important to document it for sure. But really the concept that we're talking about is when you learn to position yourself as a leader, making it scalable, getting yourself positioned well, building systems so that you can have other people come alongside and help, building training programs. What that does is puts you in a position then to really manage the results.
Yeah.
And with that means you're creating dashboards, you're having consistent communication where you don't lose grip of your business, but you put systems and meetings and markers, dashboards in place where you can monitor the health of the organization, stay in touch with the people that are leading in areas, but instead of getting into all the weeds on it, you give them a structure that they can run with confidently. And then you find the areas that you can measure that gives you an idea as a leader or the owner of the organization, how well are we doing? Now, I know we've shared a lot of concepts with you here in this short period of time. But what we do in the business coaching is it's a year-long program, and we actually take you through identifying and building all these elements so that you have a pathway that you're able to take your business from maybe that startup, or you're overwhelmed, or you're getting to that burnout point, or you actually just want to have more of an impact and grow the business beyond what you're able to do. And we help you build out these steps. And if you say, gosh, I don't think I can do coaching right now, come to the workshop. The workshop is going to give you a really solid understanding of a lot of these concepts. And those of you that have got nonprofits, even ministries, you have to learn to handle those like a business to actually have the impact and fulfill the vision that God's given you.
I think when you and I have kind of dug deep into some of these businesses we've been working with, I think all of them have been missing some key ingredients, and they're all successful businesses. Now, you and I are in great hopes, and we know with the help of the Lord that they're going to be really, really successful based on this type of stuff. But a lot of successful businesses we've worked with haven't even had job descriptions or really any kind of a definite training system. And people want that. Believe it or not, they like the structure. They like to have responsibility. They feel comfortable with that. They want to feel like they're giving back. And if you can build that kind of culture, sky's the limit on where you can go.
That's exactly right. Well, Frank, thanks so much for joining me on the podcast today. You are such a wealth of information. And I just want to encourage all of you again, if you want to come to the business workshop, get registered, go to wealthbuilders.org/events and use the code WB200 to get $200 off. We would love to see you. Also, check out the free webinars that we have coming up here leading up to that workshop. You can find that at the same place, wealthbuilders.org/events. So Frank, thank you again for joining me today.
Of course, Karen. And thank you for all your insight too. So I've really enjoyed this, and we're hoping that you'll join us at the business workshop. It really is a once in a lifetime experience. And hopefully you'll continue doing it afterwards.
Yes, that's right. So thank you, all of you, for joining us each and every week. We really appreciate you. Billy and Becky send their love to you. They pray for you every day. And we can't wait to see you again, August 18th through the 20th. God bless you and make it a great rest of the day.
Thanks for listening to the Wealth Builders Podcast. If you've enjoyed this podcast, please rate and review the show. You want to learn more about who we are? Visit our website at wealthbuilders.org and check us out on Facebook. We'll see you next time.